Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rise of the Podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Kara.
I'm Dan.
And I ran out. I'm Brownie.
I hope you know, Chris, that has become a thing now. So people were talking about it at work, and they were like joking about Rise of the Podcast, and they're like, "Oh, I'm Jeremy," and then somebody else went, "And I'm Brownie," and I'm like, "You guys." Chris did a thing. He created a thing. Anyways, you guys don't know. You've never seen Dan before. It's your first time appearance here, Dan.
Yeah. I'm super excited to be on, so thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Jacob says Dan sounds like a cool cat.
We just started.
Dan.
So, Chris, you know a question I'm going to ask you. Are we recording?
We are. That's why we didn't start exactly at 7 because gotta click the record button.
So
Swanky, a longtime lister and
Hello,
participator.
Swanky.
Says
Yay, hi,
Dan.
Swanky.
Hey.
So we Brad might make an appearance. Swanky, Gabe is probably predisposed right now because he's on his own
Indisposed?
podcast. But we asked Dan to be on tonight because you just started a YouTube channel.
Yeah. I just started a channel for a bus build that I'm doing right now.
So what's the name of your channel?
The North Bus.
So I fell in love with the name right off the bat. It's really easy to find. If you search for North Bus, you already come up.
Oh,
So
sweet. That's good.
cool.
That's good to know.
And,
SEO check.
Perfect.
Don't rename yourself Rise of the Podcast because the SEO on that is terrible.
because Rise hits and podcast hits. So there's tons of podcasts and rise or raise or grow your podcast. Or
I've had a number of patients ask me, "Oh, what's the name?" And I'm like, "Rise the Podcast." And they're like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, I tell them all the places our podcast is, and then I'm like, "But you're gonna have to scroll a while before you find us," because Rise Podcast apparently is a big podcast.
It was. They haven't made an episode in 2 years now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we're still losing to them in SEO.
Yeah, it's
Lame.
ridiculous. Anyways, so tonight I watched the first 2 episodes. We dropped Chip off at my mother's house.
That's their son, in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
Oh, yep.
Yep. Chip's he's 4 months old, so he's
awesome.
little guy. But we put up the North Bus, and my mom watched, and I watched the first 2 episodes, and it was totally fun. So first, we're gonna go back. And you said that you really, for a long time have been wanting to do something like this, and you had a Volkswagen.
Yeah. So I started wanting to do this kind of project since I got out of high school. I stumbled into this website called Hank Bought a Bus.
Oh, fun.
And it's this guy who's converted a big old bus, and I fell in love with it. I'm like, this is amazing. And instantly I'm like, I'm going to do this with a school bus. And I'm looking around at school buses, and at the time it just fresh out of high school, going into college, I was like, this isn't going to happen. So I eventually dropped out of college and I moved down to Iowa, and there was a bunch of people in Iowa who were big in the Volkswagen scene. And so they were like, you should get a Volkswagen bus. And I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. So I started looking, found a Volkswagen bus, and I went for it, and it shipped from Florida on this super sketchy freight thing. And it was it was an interesting experience, but that was a really fun project, really, really fun to kind of get started on something. But the deeper I got into that, the more I realized that there was really bad rust all over the body. And I had to let that one go, which kind of sucked.
Oh, that sucks.
Rust, a.k.a. car cancer, is it's so hard to deal with. And
Minnesota is the worst place to ever be to deal with it, too.
So now I feel like with Volkswagen, those specific buses, they have such a following, and it's such a niche item. Was that? Do you think that's actually going to be more money because of how sought after those buses are versus just buying a school bus? Or do you think it's more affordable to do?
In different ways, I'd say there's certain things about Volkswagens that are simpler and cheaper.
Yeah.
Whereas certain things with the bus that are simpler and cheaper and better. So parts for Volkswagen, surprisingly, you can find a ton of them online. There's this website called the Samba, and it's they have a ton of different buses on there and a ton of different things. So for anyone who's looking into Volkswagens, they can do that. Otherwise, it's fairly easy to find parts, but it's hard to find people who will work on them if you can't do it yourself.
Got it.
So that's kind of the downside to it. But
So, Chris, I don't know if you're able to put a link in the description so people can actually see what we're talking about, but or at least check them out somewhere, or just comment in chat, or Dave or Swanky or
You want me to risk our internet?
If you just pull up and you go to YouTube and you go the North Bus, it'll come up. And it's super fun because then you can at least see what we're working on. Because I watched, so you just did an intro episode, and then you did your first episode, and so just to like, I don't want to spoil. I'm going to spoil all the. Can we spoil all the good moments?
Go for
We're going to spoil it. So I watched it, and so here's what was fun. So the first thing is I've worked on tons and tons of cars over the year, and I immediately had to laugh when you said that the bus had been up. You found the one, and it had been up for sale for like what 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you got all the like. My mom's like, I would have went into tachycardia. You know, like, it was just so excited. You look so hard for the bus that you love, and then, like you found it. And so you drove down and got it, and drove it home.
Yeah, that was an experience too. I mean, it was on for like I said, it was like 15 minutes, and a week before I'd found another one that was actually, I found out was the same bus that, I don't know exactly what happened with it.
Funny.
I don't know if I want to know exactly what happened with it, but like, it's... I see this one come up in Stewartville, Minnesota, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to do this. So I'm calling this guy, and I'm like messaging him, and I'm like, oh, like throw down my money like right now, please, like take it, because especially with prices right now skyrocketing.
Yeah.
So
for everything, by the way.
Everything.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. And so
well, now that schools are closed forever, they don't need school buses.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
It's true.
But yeah, so I put the money down and we drove down and stayed at my parents' house and like quickly woke up the next morning, went to get this thing, and we had everything kind of laid out in stacks for like money. And it's like I'm a cheap person, so I don't have a lot of money, and having that much money laid out on a table, I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is all I own. Yeah. And he's counting it out, and I didn't realize that I'd set 1,500 in one of the stacks, and so he had him in stacks of thousands. So he's looking through, and he's like, oh, okay, yep, and yeah, you're about $500 short, so bank should be open. And I'm like, this is like everything that I own.
Right.
And he counted it out as I'm like going outside trying to figure out what I was going to do. He comes back out and he's like, oh yeah, actually, like, you're good to go. So let's just sign the papers and take the bus. And I was like, oh,
thank you.
Yeah, it was an experience.
So my favorite thing about these adventures where you go and like buy a car and you flip them is the fact that there's always unforeseen circumstances. So you hinted at it just for a second. Tell me about insuring it, because I would have never dawned on me. Like, you buy a car, you put insurance on it, not a big deal. Mm-hmm. What would you run into? So
most places for insurance, they'll have to like, you have to have a CDL, I believe. Okay. To be able to say like, this is a bus and I want to insure a bus. If I'm taking a school bus and saying I'm using this as an RV and I'm converting it right now, it's mid-conversion, a lot of places are like, nope, you got to wait until it's like finally converted, or you have to wait until it's finally exactly what you are saying it is.
That's my bureaucracy. That stuff makes my blood boil, because we're running into that same issue on something else right now, and it's really frustrating. Continue. Sorry.
Red tape is the worst tape.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely is. I wouldn't recommend it, but I sketchily drove it home without insurance. That's just fine. Just to get it home.
It's fine.
And
the man left you no choice.
Exactly. And like, because of that, I dropped my insurance company.
Yay.
Progressive.
Yeah.
And I dipped out of them, and I went with someone here local, because they answered the phone, and they were like super nice, and they were like answered the phone right away, whereas I was on hold.
I hate the phone tree so much.
Uh-huh.
So now I feel like I have to tell a mini story, and we can crap on companies, right, Chris?
Yeah, lots of tangents, lots of rabbit trails.
Well, no, but I mean, like, Waste Management's not going to send me a cease and desist, right?
If they started cleaning up their act.
So Waste Management, but I was gone for overseas deployed, and here's the number one thing I hate. I have everything auto pay, because I hate paying bills. Everything's just auto pay, right? Credit card expires. Ooh. So then bills weren't going through, getting paid. Mm-hmm. Now, for some weird reason, some bills will still go through so long after the expiration date.
So like he says, mini story, time for me to make some popcorn.
And so Waste freaking Management, the garbage company, it didn't go through for 3 months. I didn't like get a notification, and then all of a sudden I finally get the email. It comes through and it's like, hey, we're shutting off your garbage service. And I was like, no, don't shut off my garbage service. So here I am overseas. I'm calling up, trying to get, have to coordinate when I can go call. And so I finally call. I go through the whole trouble tree. And so we're going back and forth. And so the lady says, I've got to pay. I got to get caught up. Totally fine. Then I have to pay a reconnect fee. And I'm like, but you never actually, like, you're still picking up my garbage as of last week or whatever.
And what do they need to reconnect? Like, it's not like they unplug the garbage truck.
Yeah, like re-add it to their service line or whatever.
Whatever.
And so I was
Even though they were picking up garbage to the person next door.
So
it's like,
it was a $45 fee.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, I am not paying that.
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
ridiculous.
so I was like, I'm like, just cancel. Come get your cans, get them out of my sight. That is how you guys. I don't even want to see WM. Just get it out of my sight. So she goes, there's a fee to pick up the cans.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, so there's a fee to reconnect, yes. And I'm already canceled, yes. But there's a fee to come get the cans? She says, yep. And I said, what happens if I keep the cans? Well, technically they're waste. And I just like, is there a fee? Well, no. I'm like, all right, bye, click. I kept those cans. Those cans stayed there. They're your cans. I don't care if I keep them. If you want me to pay to have you come pick them up, no. And so they're still sitting where they were.
That's hilarious.
So I called Cloquet Sanitary Service, and Kara had a friend who worked at a coffee shop who's absolutely awesome, and I called up Cloquet Sanitary Service, and the lady and I are sitting chit-chatting, and then she goes, Jeremy? And I go, Jane? She's like, whoa, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And so, like, if I still lived in Cloquet, Cloquet Sanitary Service, they're absolutely awesome.
Yep.
None of this, like, BS connection fee and disconnect fee and drop off
I think I know the owners
can
of Cloquet
fee.
Sanitary, too.
They're awesome.
So.
They're absolutely awesome.
This
So-
episode brought to you by Cloquet Sanitary.
Yeah, right. You're missing out, Cloquet Sanitary Service. That's a free plug because of how awesome. Not like Swanky or Brad needs Cloquet Sanitary Service to...
It'd be hard to add around
If you
all the way
ever
out to
moved to
LA.
Cloquet.
Yeah. So that's I totally get where you come from, speaking to a person that you can actually talk to. And that's what we're like running into with this other issue is it's like everybody tries to go through a process and it's like I have a scenario where a process isn't going to work for me. I need you to hear what I'm saying and then process that.
Yeah, it's like they have this stupid checklist they make you go through. It's like we literally can't check any of these boxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like we just need to ask you like a direct like 4 questions.
Yep.
To figure this out. But no, there's like oh, you see all these hoops? Yeah, go ahead and jump through those real quick. It might light some on fire. Who knows? And then when you're done, maybe we'll talk.
Maybe.
So this other company, so they're just registering it as an RV.
Yeah, so actually right now I think it's registered as a bus and it's insured as an RV. I'm not exactly sure how that all works, but the insurance agent has been super great. And actually like they're like, send us pictures of the build as you're doing it and stuff. And like
You're like, check out my YouTube video channel.
hey, guess what?
Subscribe to me at the North Bus
Yeah.
to see the progress. Okay, so you got it home, and then so here's what I loved. So the first thing I had to laugh is Chris had called me and asked me if I watched him yet, and I said I hadn't. So were you just excited?
I was
to
very
talk?
disappointed about it.
Were you? I know. I could tell you were. I could tell.
I just like when we have guests on when we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of weird when it's like you have to sort of like dodge around like protecting people from like direct questions about something that they should have seen.
Right.
But, so I was just like, I wasn't super worried about it because it's like it takes 15 minutes to watch both episodes so far. So.
So what made me laugh is when you cracked out the Moon Man, that was instantly relatable because everybody who drinks New Glarus beer drinks Spotted Cow, and I don't even know how they sell Moon Man, but it's my favorite one of all of them. So when I saw you drinking Moon Man, I was like, yes.
I actually, unpopular opinion, I'm not a huge fan of Spotted Cow. I don't even really know why I don't like it, but I think I had a really bad one time on a motorcycle trip, and like the whole motorcycle trip was horrible. But having like a beer after the trip and we're like, okay, we got, I know Spotted Cow is supposed to be really good. And it was just
it was a letdown.
horrible. And I'm like, this is the cherry on the top of the worst Sunday I've ever had.
I have a more unpopular opinion, especially in northern Minnesota. I don't like beer.
Well, you do.
I'm a cocktail girl. I don't care for beer. When was the last time you saw me drink a beer?
I don't know. Never.
Exactly. I'll tolerate a Vickers apricot wheat. That's okay.
Did you just say tolerate apricot wheat? You like apricot wheat.
It's okay. It's good. It's good for beer. It's good. But if I was gonna get,
There's a beer right now crying in the shower. Like, why does Kara like me?
if I was gonna choose between a margarita and a beer, I would choose a margarita every single time.
That's a fair point.
Swanky says, I've had Spotted Cow, love it.
Really?
Wow.
That's a Wisconsin beer. Like, that's supposed to be sold outside of the state.
Literally,
Yeah.
isn't that in Superior? Or is
No,
that
New Glarus, Wisconsin.
This is like somewhere in the middle somewhere.
Wherever New
kind of.
Glarus
Cool.
is.
Okay.
It just
Nobody
shows a picture
cares.
of Wisconsin on it. It just says New Glarus beer, and then
Gotcha.
Brewed
It's
in-
probably just like the city is just like one guy's house where they make the beer.
right.
Brad says beer was cool in high school. It's like I don't drink basically at all. I have a bottle of Jack Daniels that got the guy who used to hand out booze. Dan and I work together.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
Like Wyatt and Keith.
I was gonna say, I think most of our guests have worked with you.
When's Ben coming on?
If Ben ever has a project. But I still have like over half of that bottle left from like the year before last.
Oh man, I think I went through my big thing of White Claw in like 2 days.
Oh, but White Claw's good.
White Claws, but press
Yeah.
though. I've gotten into press lately.
Well, I just love that they're like everybody's jumping on the spritzer bandwagon. Like now, but like
Say spritzer.
well, whatever.
Seltzer.
Seltzer.
Spritzer. I like Spritzer, but
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
And everybody's making one. Bud Light one is like just try our seltzer because we're by Bud Light or whatever. And then there's another
Bud Light
one.
is never. They don't even make good beer. So like as soon as they deviate from that, it gets worse.
yeah, you're like, oh.
And then it's funny too. So there's another one, and it might be Bud Light as well. But they're like, we're donating all our money to the lake, so like you drink our seltzer, and we'll save Lake Superior.
I think you're right.
I think it's Bud Light.
Bud Light, really?
Yeah, they're like trying to.
Well, they have those beer garitas. Do you remember those?
Yes, and they
Oh.
have the Clamato beer. Where I love Bloody Marys. I hate Clamatos.
No, I'll say that
It's a beer Bloody Mary here. It's a beer Bloody Mary.
the
Well,
clam
they
juice.
give you the
Yeah.
chaser or whatever, a beer with your
Snoot.
blood, a snoot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what it's called.
the little
beer
thing,
chaser.
yeah. With bloody.
Yeah,
So it makes sense.
right.
Regular Budweiser is by far the best beer they make.
Oh, for Budweiser.
Yeah, full.
Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser.
Yeah, like
I
the
thought you were
red
saying,
can that
like-
looks like a playing card.
Yeah.
No,
I was like, wow, bro.
what would the best beer? Regular Coors, maybe.
No, now you. Okay, so Mike loves Coors, the banquet beer.
Yeah, the gold can.
Yes.
That
Yes.
it's good.
Yeah, I had when I was like 21. Coors Light was my jam, and then
Coors Latte.
yeah, Coors Latte, as Brett would say. And then Mike always used to drink. I call him Coors Heavy, but yeah, he's like, oh, you got to have the banquet beer. And
It
then
is.
there's the Minnesota You Betcha guy who.
Oh, you know what?
I
Miller
think-
High Life is pretty good too.
Is that the champagne?
the champagne of
Yeah.
beers?
I have a buddy who every
But
time he
the, you know, the You Betcha guy,
Lord.
he does the.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
And so
Everybody loves it.
I remember the worst. Wildcat Ice is the absolute worst beer ever.
Well, for my graduation party, my parents bought Milwaukee's Best.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
the
would
Beast.
drink Milwaukee's Best over Wildcat Ice.
If I knew what I knew
Wildcat
now,
Ice.
I would have never let my parents I would have just rather had it be a dry grad party.
Just
the
gotta
Beast.
catch up
Yeah.
a couple things on chat, and then we can talk a little bit more about beer. Dan, this is your wheelhouse.
beer, yeah. Don't know if that's a good thing.
We're in
on,
northern
that's-
Minnesota. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Swanky said he used to live in Chicago, and a buddy's dad did
Oh.
work in Wisconsin. He used to bring
Okay.
cases home.
Fun.
All right.
Brad says my pee tastes better than Budweiser,
Fair.
but he has it on tap.
Budweiser is pissed.
I mean, he definitely has his pee on tap. I'm trying to think what I think like Grain Belt Northeast might be my favorite like regular beer.
I am so sick and okay, I love Grain Belt Northeast. And I love there's this stupid Grain Belt guy who's like, when you're plowing in the snow, grab a Grain Belt. He just sounds super Minnesotan.
He's singing about drinking and driving.
No, like snowblower.
Oh.
Like for like then
It's like when you're in your old F-150. So
no, I'm trying to think. So I don't want to sound pretentious, but it's like craft beer is really good.
way
Yeah.
better.
It is.
Yeah.
Craft beer is such a completely
So,
different tier.
We have so many breweries around here too.
It's
So I mean,
stupid.
we can be a little bit beer snobs.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Just saying.
Moon Man was my jam, but my current jam right now, if I had to pick anything, it's Earth Rider Pale Ale.
Yes, the coffee one?
It's
It's in the blue
can.
box.
Oh, the Superior
Pale
Pale Ale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Superior
Yeah.
Pale Ale is my favorite one by them. But all of Earth Rider beers are my jam.
All
But I
of
saw
them.
you had a hat on in your bus video.
Yeah.
Is that or some?
No, that one's actually Earth Rider.
That is
Yes,
Earth Rider.
and
okay.
that's a superior beer.
That's Superior as well.
yeah.
I almost had a job as the marketing director at Earth Rider.
Nice.
such a
That'd have been
fun
awesome.
Yeah.
But like, if they literally had not made a single can of beer yet when they were putting out feelers for the job,
Okay.
And then they ended up like I interviewed for the thing, and they were basically like said in the interview they were going to hire me, and then like turned around and were like, well, actually we can't afford to hire you yet. And then I got a different job.
Well,
because I kind of needed the job now.
Yeah.
Castle Danger is really good.
Yeah, I used to work there. And
Did you work?
you worked there?
Yeah, like June of 2017. I used to work there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
We had a staff party there. What was that? Fall 2019.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, chat. We need best regional beer and where you're from.
So as I've been around in Hawaii, I had Land Shark. I had Stella Artois.
You know what I hate? Corona.
Corona.
Terrible.
For the longest time.
It's bad. It doesn't
The
taste
beer.
like anything. Yeah.
The beer.
Yeah.
No,
not the virus.
Yeah, no, then. I was
I mean,
going to say
I
not the external fringes of the sun either. Sorry, you were saying.
Corona with a lime, I do love.
Mm.
Yeah, I do like it. You got to get it right around the rim and then squeeze it and then pop
If I
it
wanted to
in.
work,
Then
I'd
stop
have
it.
a cocktail.
Yeah, right.
Cocktails are the way to go. I'm just saying. or ciders.
No, so Stella Artois
Hard
I had
cider's
overseas for the first time, and then I did the beer tour twice at Old Chicago. So I've had like Negro. Is it Negro Modelo? Is that the Mexican one? I do not like Dos Equis.
Oh yeah. Also,
Yeah.
somebody made this pumpkin beer once upon a time.
They come out
Oh, yeah,
every
that's
fall.
And so I worked at a liquor store. And it's the liquor store that I always go to like pick up stuff for my parents or whatever. So they'll always tell me like when something's gonna go on sale soon or whatever. And these things, so they were 12-pack glass bottles or whatever, and they're normally whatever a 12-pack costs, like between $10 and $15 or whatever. They went on sale for $3 a case.
Dang.
And I was like, at that price, I loaded up a fridge and I drank like 2 of them, and I was just like, these are terrible.
$3 beer. Yeah.
I follow a girl on Facebook. I think her name's Lauren Powell, and she always like taste tests beers, ciders, and stuff. And then she'll see how many beers or whatever it takes for her to get a 0.08 BAC. And anyway, in the fall, she taste tested every single pumpkin beer and rated them. There's a ton of pumpkin beers.
Look that up. So like, the problem was they went expired, and like like some people are like, oh, expiration date doesn't matter when it comes to like beer. Like, especially, like, storage-wise and stuff like that. Like, if you don't store it right and it hits that mark, it turns hard. We got a crap load of chat coming in.
People get excited
Juliet
about beer.
is
my
made her
goodness.
return.
Oh, Juliet!
We're talking about beer. Welcome, Juliet.
So, Brad said Stella's good with pizza.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And Swanky says, in Chicago is a big fan of the Spiteful Brewing Company.
Never had it.
Juliet says she only drinks wine.
There you go.
And Ola, by the way.
Hello.
Hola.
No, yeah, like hello.
Yeah,
obviously.
If it's beer, it's only Guinness or Heineken. I think those are.
I've had. Oh, okay. All right.
Guinness in Ireland. That's the way to go.
Like the funniest, smiliest picture of me that exists is me having Guinness in Ireland. So on the way home a couple times, I've stopped in Shannon, and I just go there and I get fish and chips from the bartender, and I get like 3 or 4 Guinness, and then I'm just smooth sailing on the way home. It's good experiences because I'm coming out of countries that I didn't want to be in, and
I feel like I've only had a couple of encounters with Guinness, and so I'll say this: of all the spectrum of beers,
right now,
dark beer is my absolute favorite.
It's so good.
Right, I love dark beers. For some reason, every Guinness I've ever had was like soured.
They're flat. They're flat.
You need to get.
Well, no, it wasn't even like that. It was just like there's just something about it that just like. Because normally a dark beer doesn't have that hoppy bitterness to it, and this just it tastes like drinking an IPA for some reason.
Weird.
But I feel like it could have just been like one of them was like just after high school, and it was like, oh, goodness, was so good. It's like, this is terrible. So who knows what the state of that beer was prior to me having it?
Right.
Then it was like several years later at like some house party or something where it's like there's questionable control over whether or not the beer has been cooled or not. So it's like if I feel like I have one chance left for it. For me to actually like it, because whenever I talk to people that like dark beers, like, oh, you must be a Guinness person, it's like I actually have not had a pleasant experience with one yet. But it's like I don't want to be someone who's just like, I hate it, and it ends up being like amazing if it's stored and prepared and distributed correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Irish car bombs.
Oh, they're good. Oh man,
like that's how you're gonna like Guinness.
Is that with Bailey's?
We do take questions. B of YouTube.
Who? What?
Just somebody with the letter B is their name. We do take questions. Feel free to Fire away. We haven't talked about Star Wars
Be
yet.
of YouTube, I shout out personally everyone who's here and
we like to know, are you new or are you long-time lurker?
Yeah, or are you using a different alias? Or are you somebody else? Because I've been bit by that before.
Yeah, Jeremy's like,
Anyways,
hey! And then
Be of YouTube, we will talk about whatever you want to talk about.
They're curious of our thoughts of the Disney LGBTQ initiative to make Darth Maul trans. I hadn't heard of that.
I hadn't heard of that either.
All I'm going to say about this is because we're not trying to swing too many directions into politics here. I just rewatched the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars Season 7. Good arc. That's all I'm saying.
It is.
And then, spoiler alert here. Spoiler alert.
Jeremy loves to spoil.
Yeah.
If you've watched Rebels, Maul gets killed. Okay? For good that time, all right? So I don't know if he's coming back in Kenobi and they're trying to do something to him. I know that there's a comic book where they made a character binary now, or non-binary. So, but we're not going to go too heavy.
Yeah, we try to stay away
stuff.
from political. We're just kind of, we're here for fun.
We appreciate the character.
Yeah.
And
Did you
we
see
don't
how
need
excited
to-
I got about Star Wars?
Yeah. Well, it's like kind of like the thing, like in a similar line when J.K. Rowling's like, "Oh yeah, Gandalf's like super hot gay,"
Right.
or whatever. It's like it doesn't like I don't care because like in the canon of what I appreciate him in, it doesn't matter what he is.
Right.
It doesn't change the character.
So in that regard, I don't think that any direction that Maul goes in the bedroom makes any difference.
Maul.
He's still obsessed with Kenobi.
He still
I mean,
kicks
who's
butt with
not?
a lightsaber.
You know.
A little bit more obsessed.
Kara's obsessed with Kenobi too, though. So
I mean, Kenobi. Whew. Just saying.
Jim of Digimon fame says, "I click watch. Here's spoiler alert. GG."
He's out.
We got a whole bunch of chat I still have to go back and collect on here. So
We have a lot of bus to talk about too.
yes. So Smikey says living down south now, so local breweries aren't many, but Duck Rabbit Stout is good.
Okay.
Juliet says miss watching the podcast due to kids' virtual school.
Oh,
yeah.
I suppose that makes
So we
makes
do put
sense.
them out on Monday. You don't get to interact as much, but we'll still reply to questions if you. Put
I mean,
them
we're
there.
family friendly too, for the most part.
Juliet's email's right there.
Is it up there?
Yeah, it's right there.
That was our first email from a non like local friend.
Non-person that we knew.
It's on the
Right.
shelf next to C-3PO. Oh, and then
Cam's
next
Yoda.
to Cam's Yoda
And the Ashley Eckstein
autographed
sign.
Funko
Eckstein.
Pop thing. In the other chat.
Juliet says, "Oh yeah, there's a lot." She says, "Try Victoria beer."
Ooh.
So Mikey says the best part of dark beers, specifically stouts, they can be served at any temperature, depending on the temperature to taste different flavors. Warmer opens up more. Colder locks in flavor. Commercial beer needs to be served cold so the nasty doesn't get unlocked.
Yes.
100%.
I'm that way with a lot of stuff. Like even like Coke. I don't like warm Coke. It just gotta
Brad
be
says
cold.
Maul always looked horny to me.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, Brad.
B says Star Wars has become so politicized though. The all go broke stuff, franchises seriously suffered. Yeah, there are things that just don't need to be addressed.
Right. I agree.
So it's and I understand you want to make sure they have positive representation, so people that are growing up and growing into a franchise feel like they have characters they can identify with and stuff. But none of this has ever been relevant to Star Wars.
Right.
Right, it's I get there are relationship arcs, but like in all of the media of Star Wars, what relationships are there?
Right.
There's Han and Leia.
Yep.
There's Anakin and Padme.
And that was to create a character, literally. You know,
Yeah,
like,
and
that's
then
origin.
they sort of did Rey and Kylo, which doesn't even really feel like even a thing.
I think
felt
that
like
was
nothing
a
until the
completely
third, yeah.
unnecessary.
Yeah, so and what else really was like?
Yeah.
You know, so and none of those, and one of them was sort of important, I guess.
Right.
Like Han and Leia never needed to do anything.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
then
the
I
only-
guess Kylo wouldn't have been in the.
Oh, he could have just been some other dude. He didn't need
That's
to be
true.
Han Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So the only one that actually really mattered was
Anakin Padme.
Anakin and Padme, and it was so poorly done.
Oh, so that just
Sorry, we're just wormholing here,
we
Dan.
asked about Star Wars ahead of time. I mean, have you at least seen the original 3?
I've seen the original 3, and I've
Okay.
seen like the first.
So one of my favorite internet jokes somebody did was when Kylo Ren is like denouncing the dark side and he throws his lightsaber off into the water and Grievous comes and runs off. I just saw
I
one.
love that.
I just saw another one and I hadn't seen it before. It's when Darth Maul he kicks Obi-Wan's lightsaber down the pit in the Phantom Menace, and it shows Grievous running through and like diving down the hole for it. I was like, that is the best. It is the best. And
Well,
then,
have you seen the one where it's outside of Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen's hut, and it's Grievous with the 2 metal detectors?
yeah, because he's looking for the lightsabers.
Oh
where Ray buried
my
him.
gosh.
Oh, I will never get tired of the Grievous collection jokes.
Grievous
ever.
is, yeah, yep.
It's
yep.
so funny.
Fine addition to my collection.
I love it so much. All right, so we got sidetracked about beers, which I want to finish on. We got a bunch of comments. Keep commenting more about like what type of. So you had mentioned Irish car bombs.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Chris, it was all the rage to do a regular old car bomb. Is what it's a Jaeger bomb. It's Jägermeister and Red Bull. Is that what it was? Nasty.
Yeah.
But
I hate you. So I'm surprised that you don't like these. You like black licorice, and
I do-
Jägermeister's just black licorice to the drink.
Ew,
I had an incident with Jaeger, and I don't go back to it anymore. I used to drink Jaeger.
I also had an incident with Jägermeister, which I barely tolerated to get me blitzed.
Yeah, the only thing that makes Yeg taste worse is when it comes back up. Just leave it at that.
No, that's yep.
Oh man, that brings back horrible
Yeah, that's what I'm
memories
saying.
too.
Does
Yeah.
everybody have a bad Yeg story? I feel like that.
I've never had it, so
You would never touch it.
No,
it's
yeah.
black licorice of
And
beer,
black
or of
licorice is-
liqueur or whatever you want to call it.
So just one last thing, B commented, and then like little just sort of put that topic to bed. Does the diversity of the cast need to be revisited in the next episode to be fully inclusive? Shouldn't be the narrative. Shouldn't be the narrative. Include the sexual preference of the characters. Like we sort of agree. Like it doesn't matter.
no,
like,
it doesn't.
You know, it's like if they want to. It really just doesn't matter to us.
Right.
You know, so it's like in the real world, it doesn't matter to me what anybody else wants to
Right.
do.
Right.
Right, so why would it matter to me if a fictional character does anything? So that's why he says he has a bad Jaeger story too.
Yeah, see?
So that's all it is. Like
you
nobody,
feel like sharing,
nobody
go
ever
ahead,
has an
Swanky.
amazing. It's like, oh, I had such a great time on Jaeger.
Great.
It's always like, oh man, I dropped out of college because he.
Well, and for me, it was just something people did. So it was like Mike, always just, he's a fun guy to go drink with. So he would do things like he would buy a round of shots for everybody that you'd light on fire or do something. So it just felt like a trendy thing where it was like people would go, like, oh, let me get you a Yag bomb, So then it's kind of fun because then they'll pour a bunch of Red Bull up and then you just take it and you tink the shot down and drop it in, or you just drop it in, whatever, and you do your thing and whatever. Well, then you have a couple too many of them, and then it's the upper and a downer, and it's nasty.
Don't drink them too slowly. That was
Yeah.
my first
Oh,
mistake.
yeah. So
With one, I had gotten a little bit drank too many of them. My coordination wasn't working so well, and it took me a couple of tries to get the thing in there, and I was like, "Nyeh," and all of a sudden it just went, and that was the end of my evening.
So for fun, for you, so you know what Red Bull tastes like, right?
Yeah.
So imagine pouring black licorice into Red Bull. That's what it tasted like.
Yeah.
Who would
Now-
drink that? I'm sorry,
People
but
do.
People
do.
People that want to have their senses altered will drink anything. People
So,
drink kerosene.
The Irish car bomb, on the other hand, is a
That's good.
Guinness, and then you
And
take
Baileys?
and you drop it in.
see
and
that
when
I'd be more willing to
And
try.
it's fun because it mixes instantly as you're chugging it, and it tastes like chocolate milk when it's going down.
Ooh.
It's fun.
See, I
It's
would do that.
fun.
I would do that. But yeah, not.
Have you done a root beer barrel?
I have.
Ooh, what's that?
That's root beer schnapps into literally any beer. But honestly, so crappy American pilsners are the best for it,
Yeah.
and it ends up tasting like a root beer.
Interesting.
Ooh.
So, but again, it's like all these other things. Like you have 2 seconds to drink it, otherwise it's
Yeah.
gonna go everywhere.
What would you think about doing the root beer schnapps with Baileys? Would that be kind of like a root beer float almost? Maybe.
I suppose.
It's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Well,
just
now I want to
say-
I want to take ice cream and I want to make.
Oh.
Actually, I want to say people have put ice cream into Guinness. I made a Guinness float.
That
think
sounds
so,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a thing people do. I've had a black and tan or a snake bite. It's half cider, half Guinness, and they split. I'm talking to you, and you're like, "Oh, I know." what
No,
these
yeah, those are really good. Actually.
Trust me, preaching to the choir over here. So back to the bus. All right. So for you who are just catching up, if you're just showed up, if you're still haven't been here since the introduction, this is Dan. Dan took and is working on a bus. We left off on the insurance debacle. You found your bus.
Yeah.
You insured your bus.
Uh-huh.
And now you're tearing down the bus and you're filming the whole process.
Yeah. So taking out seats. I mean, it had a big handicap lift in the back of it too, and that was a whole experience trying to figure out how to get that out because it's like 800 pounds. And
So, Kara, did you say it or did my mom say it?
Probably your mom.
Yes, it was my mom, I think.
I was feeding
My
Chip when you guys
dad
watched.
is a hoarder.
yeah,
Oh, sweet Jesus.
And so when my mom saw you
Yes.
take the lift out, she goes, "Oh, I hope Jerry doesn't find out about that. Because he would like come and be like, what do you know with that lift? Oh, I can find a use for it. I'll hook it up on the second floor of my Paul building and use it to haul stuff up and down the stairs. I have no idea.
Well, I was just trying to you should have left that in to get me in and out.
Don't tell my dad about that lift.
It's gone now, sadly. It was up on Facebook Marketplace for a while.
Did somebody buy
did you get some cash for it?
I didn't get any cash for it because I eventually kind of came to where I was like, it's something that like I could just donate to someone.
Yeah.
And,
Well, that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
I put it up on Craigslist for free, and some guy who was helping convert a house to a like handicap accessible house.
Oh, that's
cool.
cool.
Well, that's dope.
That is
Yeah, it
cool.
worked out.
He said some guy, before you said the helping out make a house handicap accessible, I was like, it was Jerry. I know it was Jerry.
It's there.
Yeah. Well, my dad.
I can give you your own soda if you want, Jeremy.
I'll
Mine's
just
vanilla
steal from
Coke.
Kara. This
Mine's
is what I
vanilla
want
Coke. That's
specifically.
yeah.
This is the only thing that will quench it.
The perks of being married, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what I was going to ask you is what do people? So this is a little bit of a backtrack. Like the person who you bought it from, right?
Mm-hmm.
What secondhand? Like what are people doing with the buses if they're not converting them into these RV type things?
A lot of people are turning them into party buses.
Oh.
So it's either usually like party bus or a conversion.
All right. So Jeremy and I are both tall individuals, and my head pretty much grazes the top of a bus. Can you make them taller?
You can. So there's certain people who I don't have the ability to do it.
yeah,
'cause
you have
I'm-
to cut it. And
Yeah, you have to
lift
like
it,
cut
yeah.
each of
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
like windows, I guess. What are those?
Yeah.
Like the window
Yeah. Windows, yeah.
things, and then they do like a roof raise. So there's some where
Okay.
they're like 7 feet on the inside.
Gotcha.
And
Because I've seen people remake buses into really cute RVs.
Yeah.
And I thought that would be fun to do at some point, but
You know, it'd be really cute if you painted it like the tuna, like painted it so it looked like a tuna can, and then when you had like a top that rolled back.
oh my, a
Yeah.
sardine
Yeah,
can, you
sardine
mean?
can. That's kind of funny. Well, because I love the rooftop campers that people put on like top of Jeeps or whatever that like flip up. I just love how those look super cool to
No,
me.
you know what you should do? You should kind of make it like, put a like a net almost, if you're able to roll back
Yeah,
the
yeah,
top
my sardine.
with a net over top so you can see the stars and stuff, but have the net shaped like sardines sticking out of the top
So
of the
funny,
bus.
Kara.
Just saying. I mean,
You got
So you
options.
attract all the cats in the RV park.
a mountain lion just comes tearing by.
rips right through the net.
That's right through there.
Fran says you should lower it and put hydraulics and rims
Yes!
on it.
Yes.
Spinny rims.
So here's the fun thing: is I really related. So here's Dan working on his bus. You get it cut the first seat, right? And you flip it, and
Oh man.
I mean, it's perfect.
Gum?
So it flips out the back, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's got the door open, and it flips down, and then it flips up, and the leg smashes right into the glass and cracks the back door glass.
Yeah.
So my mom's like, "Oh, that's a bummer. That's probably like $50 to $75." And I'm like, "No, that's probably $200 because you got to get the seal, I'm guessing." And
Yeah.
have you even looked into replacing it?
I haven't yet. I'm still trying to work on my pride with that one.
Are you estimate like? I mean, it's a bummer. It doesn't matter how much I know I would have been so mad. Like you hit it well in the video, but I would have just been like, bleep 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 bleep. I would have been mad.
The worst
I
part.
would have backed away quickly.
The worst part about it too was I was like, oh man, I need to. It's the first seat. Every conversion video that I've ever seen, they toss out the first seat. So like, I'm gonna set up the Osmo and like make it, like the first seat's coming out. And I forgot that it was set on slow mo, so it did it in slow mo, and it was busting my window. So I was like, well, that's great.
We've got a audience question for you, Dan.
Yeah, shoot.
Jacob Dreyer
Oh,
asks.
Jacob. Hey. That's my brother-in-law.
I figured because it was such a specific question. Is it true that you started out by trading a snowmobile on Craigslist and now have a school bus?
Oh man. Kind of, I suppose. Yeah.
So let me interject for a second. It's kind of an office meme that Dan owns vehicles for very short periods of time and then turns around and trades them for other vehicles.
Yeah. I think, was it you that said that technically I'm a dealership now?
Yeah, like once you buy and sell so many vehicles per year, you have to buy a dealer license, and,
And it's
you
not
were
very
getting
many.
close.
It's 4 or 7. I can't remember which one it is.
Is
So.
it? Oh.
Yeah, it's not very many.
Yeah.
We're gonna,
Okay, let me
we'll
rephrase
keep that on the down low.
Rephrase that. You can buy as many as you want. You can't sell.
Can
Title
you
trans-
trade?
That's a good question. I would imagine the title can't leave your name more than you can't have more than 4 or 7 leave your name without applying for a dealership license.
Anyway, so I'm sure he's well within that.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yep. For sure.
Wink, wink.
Gabe says hello, by the way.
Oh,
Hey,
hi, Gabe.
Gabe.
So, Angle, Chris.
Boop.
Every week for the past 2-3 weeks, I try to log on to Latin Operation Forces
Do
stream.
you want to try saying that again?
The Latin Operation Forces stream.
There we go.
And I pull it up my phone, I say hello, and as soon as I type and hit send, it freezes my phone. So I don't know if it's a Twitch thing, if it's my internet connection on my phone, but I feel super bad. I want to engage and interact with you guys, and it just doesn't work. So that's all I'm saying, guys. I miss you, Gabe. I want to see you stream more racing stuff so I can come watch. But all right, back to Dan. Sorry.
Yes, the man of the hour.
Okay, so first off, props on you for doing the fun little cut where you zoom in on the glass and then hold it and show that off. Because I didn't see it when you flipped it out the first time. I didn't see it smash into the glass.
Yeah. So actually, the second window, or not the second window, the second seat that I had tossed out. So the first one was I didn't have it on any other camera than my Osmo.
Got it.
Shooting it in slow-mo. So the second one, I was like, that's why I set it down nice and carefully, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be nice and easy with this. So yeah.
It's such a bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, Karen and I used to love playing Pokemon Go. Okay.
It's a great
It's a
great game.
Loved it. Right?
Gets you out exercising? Come
Gets you
on.
exercising. And so we hadn't caught an Articuno yet. This was years ago. And so we're super excited. And on our old house, we had the house here, and then the driveway went alongside of it, and then it curved over to the garage, and the garage was back here. So sometimes we would park, and didn't want to park in front of the garage, so we'd park a car here.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'd park another car here because we were also too lazy to just park in front of the garage. So we'd park behind each other so you could still drive around and get to the garage. So we're super excited. We're like, there's an Articuno in Carlton. We got to get there right now. So we hop into the car. Now I had a 99 CRV and I had an 07 Beamer. That was in really nice shape. We hop in the CRV. I slam it in reverse. I let the clutch out.
I don't know why we didn't take the Beamer.
I don't know either.
Did we take Oliver with us, maybe?
I don't know. But I backed into my BMW because I was excited to catch an Articuno.
Oh, jeez.
He was kind of upset.
I was real.
That was a clean car.
It was super clean.
And it didn't do too much dent. It
really didn't.
Little dent
it actually,
right above the grill.
Yeah, and it hit the logo, the BMW logo. And so I switched that out, and that helped a lot make it look better. So I got really lucky, but there was still a little tiny crinkle in front of it. And I love it when I sold it. 'Cause whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to admit to crunching it. But the guy's like, well, does dent get there? I'm like, it was there when I bought it. I'm not admitting. Yeah, Articuno got me.
Yeah.
Got
He
me.
would have offered you $5,000 less if you told him the Articuno.
I know. I can't believe it.
He's like, this nerd.
This sucker, he doesn't know what this car's worth.
So
Oh, and then there was no way he was not a drug dealer.
Oh,
No
1,000%.
So he paid me in
My
cash, which is
gosh.
fine. I've paid in cash. I've watched somebody, my friend Mike, paid for a car in $14,000 in cash.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and it was so we were playing around $14,000.
But then you do hundreds.
But you do hundreds. This guy paid me, I think it's so the passenger seat belt sensor was bad, and it was an $1,800 fix. I had just put in a new valve cover, and then the PCV valve on that Beamer, it's a straight 6. It's built into the valve cover. So it's a $550 part, and that was me putting it in myself. So anyways, I was getting rid of the car because it had nothing. It was great running shape. It was just the stupid airbag light was on, and that really affects the price. So the guy paid me $5,500 in 20s.
Oh, jeez.
In 20s, it a stack of 100s. It would be that big. A stack of 20s. I mean, it was comical. He's pulling wad after wad, and he's like, "Oh, I'm good for it, right?" No, he was $200 short. I was like, you're not leaving until I count it all. Same thing.
So he counted it. I counted it. We counted a few times to make sure. Because, you counted. You're like,
I'm
Kara, I
surprised you
think
didn't
this
pull
is...
up the old flippy.
Yeah.
Right? I know, right? You should have just slapped it on the hood over the Articuno dent.
Well, you counted it.
Slap it right down, count the money.
And you were like, Kara, I think this is short. You counted just to make sure. So you're
Yeah.
not calling this guy out that he's $200 short, and I counted, he was 200 short.
Yep. But it's all 20s. It was oh, well, and then a little bit of detective work. Yeah, this guy was no good. He was no good. So I looked up his name after I sold him the car and he drove away, and he had public record of domestic against his girlfriend, and it just no way he wasn't dealing drugs. So that money was probably laundered or illegal or illicit at some point. It was legal when I bought. It was probably legal as part of my transaction. But.
So
is this gonna be the Meinong story?
Oh no! In a minute.
Okay.
Can I run to the bathroom?
Oh yeah.
Sorry. I know I drank too much water.
All right, everybody, let's make fun of Dan real quick while he's gone.
And then I'll tell the Meinong story.
Awesome.
I love how. What if we would? I'll wait till you. What would he have done if we would have told him no?
You probably need to buy a new couch.
No, you can't go to the bathroom. What do you think this is? What kind of show are we operating here? This has been really fun. Really fun tonight.
I like our tangents.
Yeah, well...
Okay, we are tangents. If we ever rename the podcast, it's going to be Rise of the Tangent. Like...
No more Rise in the next name.
Yeah.
We'll call it Rabbit Trails.
That sounds like some poop.
Those are rabbit... rabbit
Is
turds.
this what we're really going
goodness.
to talk about while he's gone?
You guys want to hear something really sad?
Sure.
So, I mean, this is probably going to offend some people. So,
Oh, Lord.
this person I know was talking about they're not raising chickens.
Swanky says it does sound like poop.
I'm sorry if this offends anybody. So, this person, they didn't want to raise chickens, but they want a copious amount of meat supply. They laid out their whole plan of how they're going to raise rabbits. So,
Was this on Reddit?
no, it was actually a person that I know personally telling me about this.
So you must have told me this because I was like, this is jogging my memory.
They're good. So you kill them when they're only 6 weeks old. But if rabbits populate so much and they can have like 50 generations of, so you have a mom and a dad, and they just keep making bunnies, and then you just keep killing the 6-week-old bunnies, and you get like 800 to 1,000 pounds of meat a year from baby rabbits. And it's like I guess a thing people do. I did not know people raised rabbits for meat.
Yeah, they do.
I feel like I must have been watching. I was seeing something on Reddit about somebody trying to do that because like people were talking about how like the meat efficiency of it is incredibly low because of the total volume. Like whatever. Like let's say a 6-week-old rabbit weighs like a pound or something like that, right? You're gonna get like 5 ounces of meat off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so like the labor intensity per like unit of meat generated. So it's like you might get a lot of net a lot of meat, but like the amount of work you have to put into it.
Right.
So imagine a scenario where you need copious amounts of meat on reserve. Right. You're
Right.
probably talking like some sort of like apocalyptic level thing, right? Or
Right.
near that. So like, are you going to want to invest that many calories into creating that many
Right.
calories? Like, there's like it's almost like a break even or net loss at a certain point to do that.
Have they started doing this yet?
No, they're going.
Okay, $10. They're not going to be able to do it. My grandpa, a Marine in the Korean War, saw people die, and they raised rabbits. My grandpa could not kill them. He had to send them off to be butchered. He couldn't do it. A Marine.
So a chicken.
Nah.
A chicken.
Chickens,
Chicken
whatever,
and
go
fish
for it. Do
are-
it.
Chicken and fish are easy enough. Like chicken stink and everything, and then like.
And if you've ever owned a meat chicken,
Yeah.
they stink.
Kara hates
Ugh.
chickens. So
Egg layers are fine. Meat chickens.
Well, so chicken
And what a chicken, you know-
leavings are like a big deal fertilizer thing. So like, there's like Iowa just smells like chicken poop.
Yeah, well, and then like chickens eat all the ticks and everything, so they like clean up.
Yeah.
And then it's just, but when it comes time to get your meat, it's very easy to kill and dress a chicken.
Mm-hmm.
A bunny,
They have that auto plucker. And
Yeah,
they just run it through with
yeah.
all the knobs on it.
Yep.
and-
Wow, what did I walk into?
Yeah. When we started by talking about what would have happened if we would have said no to your bathroom break.
And now we
And
don't
then
want to know.
Jeremy's like, "Do you want to hear a sad story? I'm gonna offend people."
Ben, no, I wasn't saying it derogatorily. I'm just saying
I
it as
knew
a
Ben
fact.
would say something about.
It's just a straight fact, Ben. Iowa
Oh
smells
wait,
like chicken poop.
no way!
What?
You don't want to know. I mean, you know, but you don't want to know the things that Chris says about Iowa.
Hey, no. It's all respectfully, but Iowa's not great.
I mean, we did drive through
Respectfully,
Iowa with you, Chris.
Have you ever seen
There's a reason you live in Minnesota now.
It's a
Ben,
bad
that's all I'm
robot
saying.
love show. What's it? Love, Death, Robots. Have you ever
Yeah,
seen
Love,
it?
Death, Robots.
So they have a
good
thing
Netflix
where
show.
there's a joke that yogurt becomes self-aware, and then it happens in Ohio. So then they can take over presidency of the United States, and then they just Earth is just unsavable. So they take Ohio, and then they just they take it over, and then they launch Ohio into space, and the rest of the world stays behind. Chris saw that, and he said that should have been Iowa. That was his level.
Yep.
He's like, Iowa just needs to rock it out of here.
Second season, May 15th.
No way!
really?
Who posted that? Thank you, for
Brad.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Brad. Of course, you'd have our backs.
We do need to jump back to a.
There's an episode that like it's awesomely done. There's this woman and she's out in space and she's fixing her spaceship.
Oh,
and a little tiny screw like flips through and nicks her backpack and she can't breathe.
Oh.
So in space, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So she tourniquets her arm and then breaks her arm off and throws
She takes
it.
off the glove of her spacesuit.
Yeah. And then, because it freezes. And then she breaks her arm off. And then, so, like, if you had a shoe in space, if you were to take it off and you throw it, it's trippy. But the same speed that the shoe leaves you,
You go the
your
opposite
hand,
direction.
you go the opposite direction with 50% of the inertia. So the shoe will go 50% that way and you'll go 50% that way.
That's
and
wild.
But it's trippy because it's like you think that the shoe should just get 100% and you should stay stationary. Nope, it splits. So you
Yeah,
can
it's
actually,
because
like,
you're
move.
putting an amount of force on the shoe, and the shoe is pushing back with the same amount of force that you're pushing against it.
So it like pushes
So-
you because there's no gravity in your
Yeah,
back.
there's no gravity, no friction.
Yeah. So it's like so you can
didn't
like
know that.
so you can like take something if you're ever stuck in space and like throw it away from you and it like
Anyway,
you
yeah,
can have your little
she's
we're ever
flying
stuck in
away from her spaceship. She breaks off her arm so she can go
back to it.
But like,
Yeah.
right, it almost in the episode, it almost looks like she's gonna miss her spaceship, and it cuts away.
Yeah, like
It
leaves
goes
up to
black for a little
interpretation,
bit, and then after a couple seconds of black, like it looked like the end of the show, it shows her inside the spapeship.
Yeah. Super good episode.
Tricky.
Yeah.
That's my
I
intro
liked
episode.
I liked the Hitler one.
Hitler. It's really funny. It's like
Dude,
if Hitler would have died in 1942 or 1938, like what would have happened instead? Or there's all these different versions, so it's like one,
Alternate
Russian,
history.
Yeah, alternate history. That one's really funny.
I like that one. It's super funny.
Ewan McGregor's current girlfriend plays in one of the episodes. Where there's a civilization that advances inside their freezer. It's really
that's
funny.
her?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yep.
Jeremy thinks I look like her.
you do. And so they open the freezer, and every time the civilizations advance, so it's like little like caveman, and they open it up again, and they've like reached the Bronze Age. They open it up again, and they've reached like world peace. Or there's like they get into a nuclear war first. So the guy opens it up, and one like lobs a little mini nuke, and the guy gets sunburnt from like the radiation from their nuke. He like shuts it, then he comes back, and they like spaceship out of there, and then take off, and then they're like, "Oh, that's sad. We miss our little people in our fridge."
Well,
And
it
it's
was Earth Apocalypse or whatever. It was the apocalypse
Yep.
in there, and so everything's dead. And then the next day they open it up again, and it's restarted.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah.
It sounds almost like a Black Mirror kind of.
yeah,
It
Yeah.
is kind
Yeah.
of like that.
yeah.
That was about the
Mirror's so
same
good.
time that Black Mirror came out. So
Okay. I love that.
I do too.
Getting back to some chats, speaking with the rabbits, my granduncle raises rabbits for that reason, but he's a farmer and has a slaughterhouse on his property for all of his cows and deer hunting and all that.
Okay. Who was that?
That was Swanky. And then Swanky, so Brad was like, Dan walks in like, what the hell did I want?
I know.
And then Swanky says, back to the bus. Hi, Dan.
Hey.
So tell us more about the bus.
So we left off with the broken glass. So you threw the seat out.
Oh yeah.
And then so tell us about like the lift. Walk us through the lift.
Yeah, so that was an experience. We were trying to figure out how to best do that, and I'd looked on a couple of forums, and the best thing that I could find, they said to just like completely unfold it and like unbolt it from like the whole bus. So I was like, oh, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. So I unfolded it, tried doing that, and trying to unbolt the bolts. They're all rusted
Yeah.
and undercoated. So actually, surprisingly, for like a Minnesota bus, it's not as rusty as I would think. But you'd start moving each of the bolts, and they could all move, which never happens on a Minnesota
Yeah.
bus. So I was like, I'm making progress. But then I realized that on the underside, they'd undercoated everything, so you
Yeah.
can't get
A good socket on
like
there.
a good socket on
Yeah.
there to like.
Ooh.
Yeah,
hold
hold
it.
it.
So we had to just go under there and grind off all of the bolts. Huge thanks to my dad for doing all of that. I kind of sat there and was like, yeah, I'm gonna film, and he did a lot of that.
Yeah.
He always got like a rag over his face and all the like sparks
Oh,
and stuff.
yeah.
And
Oh.
I'm just like, this
I had
is
to laugh because I was like, he should be wearing a mask, not for any other reason other than just like the dust and the stuff underneath there. Just like a good, but they're really hard to find. I was doing home remodeling projects, and I called up a local hardware store and I said,
This was like the start of COVID.
do you guys have an N95 for people for dust? And he actually laughed at me and he's like, do you realize what's going on right now? I'm like, I just want one for dust, like for real. How does anybody get any homework, like home construction projects done?
Was this for those lights you were doing?
the closet? Yeah, the lights in the closet and everything, and
That closet turned out so good.
it's really,
Yeah, it did.
really did, yeah. So, anyways, okay, so two things. My mom laughed her butt off, and I did too, at your getting rebirthed from the seats.
Oh man.
So your editorial is really fun, like what you choose to include and exclude, because it's very hard to like pick and choose. So I wish people like you've seen this, you know what I'm talking about. But go watch his channel. It's really fun.
You got 12 spare minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of fun.
The link's still cute.
And then
Link up again. There it is.
the other part that was really funny is so you had broken the glass, then you're using the razor blade scraper.
Yep.
And you nick your paint.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, I'm gonna laugh if he nicks his paint. And then you cut to the angle and you're like, well, I went a little too deep here. So you have to take all the reflective yellow stuff and everything off.
Yeah,
the side?
so I'm still working on that. I like when I'm not doing the inside flooring and stuff, then I'll move to like reflective tape because there's so much on there. It's insane how much tape I have to take off of that
That's
thing.
crazy.
I mean, can you steam that and?
Yeah, so I
gun.
use like a heat gun, and I just like I sit there with the heat gun and then like slowly chisel away at it with a little putty knife.
Nice.
So,
Dan, your number one enemy says hello.
who's that?
Keith.
Oh, get out of
Hi,
here!
Keith. No, he says hi, Dan.
Hi.
Thanks for jumping in for a moment, Keith.
Yeah, hi, Keith.
It's good to see you.
It's probably weird for Keith. He's usually sitting in that chair.
Yeah, it's true, Keith.
Keith's been in this chair.
He has been.
Yeah.
The actual guest host we've had.
Yeah.
Because I'm not host material.
You're so funny. Kara's the reason why people are here. Let's be honest.
You're funny.
So, what
That's the most Minnesotan thing I've ever.
You're funny, don't you know?
You're funny.
I mean,
That's what people are here
sure.
for. You know. So going forward, okay, so you're scraping all the stickers off now. Are you gonna paint the bus?
Yeah. So
like
I'm
a sardine
hoping to-
can.
Yeah, like
Kara.
a sardine. I'm gonna take the top of it and I'm gonna, so I'm gonna paint it and
Keith says, "Get out of my chairs."
all of them are collectively his chair.
Well, at least two of them are apparently.
This is always my chair. Wait, who sat here when Wyatt and
Why?
Wyatt
No, I
sat?
think Adriana sat in
Adriana?
your spot.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think Wyatt was where Dan.
So
was.
only females may sit in this seat.
Or
Okay.
Darth Maul in the future. Just kidding. That's a joke. Okay, so
Oh Lord.
I probably just
Yeah,
opened up a can
anyway.
of worms.
So moving forward,
So you're gonna paint it.
Yep, gonna paint it and kind of do the whole inside. I have like a floor plan that I've been doing on Google SketchUp, which is an incredible. It's free online.
Yeah,
Isn't that what Joanna Gaines uses in SketchUp?
Maybe Blender's really easy too.
Oh, I've never used
Yeah,
Blender.
Blender's free and
says
easy.
the nerdiest person in here. Oh, Blender, it's so easy.
It is. It is. It's the same thing, but yeah, it's just like you extrude surfaces and you can download 3D models that are already made by other people and then kind of tweak them and do what you want to do. But you had used an example of like this beautiful wooden interior bus. Are you gonna be doing something similar to that, or what's your plan?
Something similar to that, I think. I know I really want to use reuse a lot of different things. There's an old cabin at my parents' house that was there before they built the place, and it's kind of fallen apart, but it's got a ton of old wood.
Oh heck,
And
that's awesome.
I would
The
love
best.
to use. Yeah. I'd love to use some of that wood. I have like a bunch of license plates that I
Cool.
collected when I was a
fun.
kid, and
Yeah.
I want to kind of do something with the license plates.
Heck
but
yeah.
I kind of like the rustic feel of something.
You
so I
should
wanna-
make a countertop out of the license plates.
That would.
I do it with like resin.
Yeah, that
like
would be
coat it
sick.
in a resin and
You
have
know
your
to
countertops.
Not set
Yeah.
anything on it too early.
Huh?
You know, we would know not to set anything on it too early.
Oh gosh.
Or then like, and then you could make like,
Oh, are we gonna go?
you could make like stool tops, stool seats
that'd
out
be
of them
cool.
too. Mm-hmm. Just saying. I mean, there's things you can do.
Kara will help you.
Yes.
We never talked about the Meinong story yet.
Oh man. So
This is in regards to like buying and selling vehicles.
there's been many situations I've gotten into with cars where things just go poorly. And one of them, I was in the market for a car. I like really needed one. I think my other one had like just crapped the bed, and so I was like, okay, I need to like get this car. And I'm looking online, and I had seen this like Honda Accord on Facebook Marketplace for like $2,000, and I'm like, oh okay, you know. And I messaged the guy, and I'm like, hey, you know, is there any leniency on the price? Because I didn't have $2,000 at the time, so I was like, is there any leniency? He's like, nope, sorry, can't do that. I'm like, okay. So I kept looking around, and then 2 days later, he messages me and was like, I'll sell it to you for $200.
What?
From
I'm like-
$2,000
Yeah.
to 200.
Should have been a red flag. It was not. And so I'm like, hey, Honda Accord, like $200. What's going on with it? And he's like, well, I clocked a bear going 70. And I'm like, so what's going on with it then? Is it leaking fluids? Is there like, do the lights work?
It's totaled.
Yeah, I thought it was totaled, and he just sends me a picture of like a tiny dent in the like fender. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I kind of I look a little bit more into it, and I'm like, okay, this seems like it could be a good option. And worst comes to worst, if there's a little bit of damage, $200, I'll use the rest of my money to do some of the fixes on the damage. And he must have just like clipped the side of it. So I called Brownie up because Brownie was off that day, and I'm like, hey man, do you want to like go to Minot? Like, there's this car that we could get. It's gonna be a real fun time. And so he's like, sure, I'll help you out. So we start going to Minot. Nothing good ever happens in Minot. I've never had a good situation in Minot. If you're from Minot, anyone who's watching, I'm sorry, but yeah, nothing good has ever happened to me in Minot. And so we drive all the way to Minot, and we're like just outside of Minot, and I get a text from the guy who's supposed to meet us at like noon, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I need to give it a good wash." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Oh
he's
my
like,
goodness. You don't wash a $200 car.
Yeah.
You do if you own it, but not when you're going to sell it. I don't know. Go ahead. Continue.
So I was
That's
like,
eating into your profit.
yeah.
Seriously.
So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So we ate some lunch, and he said that he would meet us at like 12:45. So 12:45 rolls around. He's like, well, now I gotta vacuum it. It's like,
You're like, dude, just give it to me.
I was like, oh, I mean, it's not a problem. Like, we can just do this. He's like, well, so he takes another like hour and a half to, vacuum it or do whatever he was doing. I don't know.
Brad says, how else do you deal with all the bear blood?
That's a good point.
My thought was, I was like, what, did he run into like Smokey the Bear and now the car's hot? He's trying to hide the evidence? And then the more you're telling your story, I'm like, this guy didn't hit a bear. He hit somebody.
Seriously.
That's my speculation too. I think that he hit someone with his car, but we'll get to that point. He does it like 2 more times where he just keeps pushing the time, and at this point I'm like, okay, look, man, like,
we've seen all that this town has to offer about 10 times at this point.
Like, let's just mean. He's like, well,
I got to take my weed farm out of the back.
yeah, seriously. Well, he's like, well, I'm driving to work. Meet outside of Minot, and like, I'll drive it to work, and we can just do it
so
there.
we went from like relatively metropolitan, like where there's like people and like businesses, to like it was like 2 or 3 miles out of town.
It was at this sketchy little resort, and like, so we park there, and we wait another 20 minutes for him to get there, and he drives up, and not like a normal person who is trying to sell a car to someone would drive up and park their car nice and show that they treat the car right. This dude does like a donut and just right into the spot, hops out, the door's like falling off, and like the like plastic part on the door is not on, so he's like, oh, what's up? He hops out of his car, and I'm like, what is this? And I remember looking over at Brownie, and I'm like, okay, so if I die, like, call the cops. So I'm like, okay, at this point, all of this should have been like billions of red flags, but I was desperate for a car, so I'm like, okay, I'll take it for a test ride.
You're committed at this
I'll
point.
take it for a test ride. And that was the scariest test ride I've ever done in a vehicle because it had no brakes. And so we're going around.
That's why you got a power slide into your stops.
You just triggered
So what?
me.
When he parked, did he just like grip on the emergency brake?
I have no idea. Like, the brakes like worked, but very minimally. And the best part too, I get into the car and I shut the door, and I'm like, what is going on with this door? Because it had no paneling, it had nothing. Panels in the back all busted up, and I'm trying to like get out of the car, and I'm looking at it, and he's like, oh no, you just pull that wire. And I'm like, that wire, like, what wire? And he's like making fun of me for not being able to see what mess of wire I'm supposed to pull.
To open the door?
Yeah. And he's just sitting there like, come on, man, it's that wire. Like, are you blind? I'm like,
I'm loving this. Loving this.
You're trying to sell me a car. Don't be a jerk. Like,
Right?
Yeah,
Did he ride with you on the ride along?
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
okay, good.
So I get in the car, I take it down the road, almost put it into a swamp, and that's when I'm like, okay, I can't do this. I'm not gonna do it. So I drive it back, and I'm like, all right, buddy, I'm sorry. Like, I can't take this car from you because like there's so many issues.
You didn't buy it?
I did not.
I would have bought it.
And you would have.
$200, man. I would have bought it.
But then he brings the price down to like 100. And I'm
Oh,
like,
man.
This is a huge red flag, and I have to drive this back to like Duluth, the city built on hills and have no brakes. And like the fact that he brought the price down to like I forgot what it was, like $75. He's like, oh, just take it from me. That's when I'm like, someone died from this car. Someone has been
Seriously?
hit by this car, and I will be driving it back, and I'm not going to get pulled over by the cops.
Now, do you have any affiliation or anything that, like, Honda Accords? I love Hondas, and I've owned a lot of Hondas.
He
And
does
off the
love
top of my
Hondas.
head, I've
Loves
had
Hondas.
at least 4. I had a 91. I had a 96 that was green. I had a 97 that was gold, and then I have another 96, 97 right now that's just parked at my dad's house. That's a wagon that was given to me.
Have you forgotten the
Accord.
CRVs?
Well, this is specifically Accords.
Oh, just Accords.
This
Oh.
is just Accords, okay? So my 91 had the automatic seatbelts.
There you go.
And that one
I
was,
love those.
I loved that car. Out of all, like, the 91, it was a 5-speed. It was the little smaller ones. It got like 40 plus miles to the gallon legitimately. The shifting was like a brand new car. This thing had 200 so my dad gave it to me. It was a 91. It was his car. He used to drive around for work. By the time I got it, the valve guides had so much gunk on it because he never changed the oil that you'd start it up and I would drive like a mile down the road. I couldn't see behind me until I had driven it for about a mile because all the oil would run down the valve guides into the cylinders and it would just burn oil like unbelievable. So I bought JB oil system cleaner and you like dump it in your oil pan and drive around for a half an hour and then you change your oil quick. That quit it from smoking. I drove it around for a while and then I parked it at the mall. I left it in gear, but it popped out of gear. Maybe I didn't put it in a gear. And there's these big drainage ditches that are at least 6 feet
By
deep.
the mall.
I come out and my car is gone. I'm like, someone stole my car. Who would steal a 91 Honda Accord? Who would steal my car? And I look across the mall. My car is straight up and down on the back of a boom truck, getting pulled out of one of these water drainage ditches. And I didn't even want to walk over there. So I go over there and they're like, stand back. We're pulling this car out. You can't be here. And I'm like, well, that's my car. And the guy's like, what? We've been paging you on the mall. Your car ran over you. It didn't hit anybody across the parking lot. It was parked at Sears or JCPenney's on that side. JCPenney's?
JCPenney is towards like Hobby Lobby and all that. Sears is the other side.
JCPenney. Okay. Yep, JCPenney. So I'm like, so it had backed up over the curb, landed on, so it backed up like this, landed on its side. All it did was break the glass passenger side mirror. That's it. Side mirror was still attached. It didn't dent the body at all. So he set it down, and he's like, where do you want me to tow it to? And I said, good sir, tow it. I'm driving that home. So it was $375 to just pull it out of the hole, which at the time was detrimental because I'm driving a 91 Honda Accord. So I think so I had a credit card and I hadn't used it. My limit was $500. So we're talking like this is just like you know. So I let everything sit and the guy was like, "You're stuck." Actually, I'm super salty about it. So it hit like the median thing, the curb before it went into the ditch was full of dirt, and it like ripped out all of the dirt on the way out, and it was just all over the ground. And as part of their thing, they clean it up. That mother bleep opened my back passenger seat, took a shovel, and shoveled the dirt into the back of my car. And I'm like, you a-hole, what are you doing? You could put it back in the ground.
Yeah.
The hole is right there. No, he shoveled it into the back of my car. So that was the first thing that made me frustrated. But I turned the key on that thing, and it started right up, and I drove it around for another 4 or 5 months before the timing belt snapped on it.
Ooh.
And that's what finally did that car in. But my green 96 did not have a door handle. Mm-hmm. And that wire...
Yeah.
I put a wooden dowel around it. So that way all I do is grab the dowel and pull. Yep. That was my door handle. So when you were talking about that, that's what made me laugh. Then my gold one made me super frustrated. So I got this guy, and I tell him I'm going to meet him in Minot, and his name's Dan. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute.
No, I'm totally kidding. But so this gold one, I was going to sell it because the transmission was just starting to slip. And I told the guy I'd only asked like $500 for it. I'm like, the transmission's just starting to go on this one. It was an automatic. And I can't even begin the frustration. Everybody's got a story where they're selling something to somebody and people just abuse the crap out of it. Yeah. So this guy gets in it and he's looking at it and he gets underneath it and he's like, does everything else work? I'm like, the only thing that is wrong with this car is the transmission. So the guy gets in it. He puts his foot on the brake.
Wait, we were together when you sold this one. Okay.
Yes. He puts it in drive, and he starts going on the gas, and the car's lurching forward, holding onto the brakes. And I'm like looking at this guy. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? So he pushes on the brake, and he goes, and the car is going because the front brakes are holding it, and the back is just going up, and it's just trying to go forward. So with all of his might, he pushes on the brake, and all of a sudden the pedal goes thunk to the floor. He blew my brake line. He was pushing the brake pedal so hard. He goes, "Thing's a piece of crap. Brake line's shot on it. I don't want it." And he left.
What
he left
a
me.
dick.
And I only wanted $500 for it. Now it's worth $300 because somebody's got to tow it home. You could have driven this one home for $500. And now, yeah, that was super frustrating. But
I would have made him pay for it.
what do you do? You say, "What, you broke?" No. $500 car makes me angry, you know?
He probably wasn't even looking for a car. He just wanted to ruin somebody's day.
Who does that? It's like
jerks
it's
in
like,
Cloquet,
it's
Minnesota.
like he read online somewhere what to do in buying Honda, and somebody said, "Oh, make sure you check the brakes."
Yeah,
and
do a
here's how
brake
you
stand
do it.
on it real
Smash
quick.
the
Do a
brakes,
brake
yeah.
stand on it and do it. He just kept just like it was super frustrating.
So, just catching up on chat real quick. Swanky says, Jeremy has great stories of his misadventures. Brad says, don't encourage him.
Wait, didn't we do an episode where like guys come up with a topic and Jeremy's got a story
We got
for
a
it?
story about it.
Yes.
Seriously, it's
You're talking about your busted door. Brad said Dukes of Hazzard entry.
Oh yeah.
Swanky says, I was watching
man.
old podcasts, still laughing at his fixing the toilet story.
Oh, that one's the absolute worst.
yes.
We don't
Long
need to bring it up again, but it's great.
Long story short, the toilet was broken at a restaurant. I lifted the thing to fix it, and then the screw for the plunger was all the way out, and I touched it, and the thing came flying off, and water goes everywhere, and it was
Flooded
on
the
Valentine's
bathroom.
Day,
It was
and
a
I
single-
It was on Valentine's Day in a restaurant.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Is that like
I-
a really nice restaurant? Then?
Yeah, well, no, it's a burger
It was like a
joint.
decent-ish
Yeah,
burger
yeah.
joint.
Yeah.
Swanky says, I remember busting the chain that connects the gas pedal to the actual throttle, trying to give it gas, and everything is running normal. The car is continuously slowing down.
Yeah. So, all right, Dan, you're the guest. So back to you. So you didn't buy the car, and the guy tried to lower it to $75. I mean, like,
It was like 100 or 75. I don't remember how low he got, but low enough for me to be like, you really want to get rid of this right now.
Yeah.
And I that's a big enough red flag that I don't want to buy it.
no, totally. I mean, I'm sure. And like I said, the guy could have, good luck getting the title and good luck getting this and that. And David's got a million stories about titles and like problems with titles. And he got the runaround from a guy who was in Superior, because then there's always when you buy something in Wisconsin, it's a little bit more difficult to title it in Minnesota. And
Your mom's coming
Swanky
down with Chip.
had mentioned, did this guy not know that the state has records of car ownership and selling the car would increase the chances of it getting found out?
that's true, yeah.
And then Juliet says there was a storm there and their power went out. Lots of wind and hail, but everything's good now.
Crazy.
So
When's
I'm
it-
glad that you survived the great storm.
Wind and hail in Georgia. So Juliet's from Georgia.
Oh, cool.
Gabe is from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Brad is from California.
Swanky's from California too, isn't he?
Swanky
Have
was
we-
from Chicago.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
have we
Tonight.
established where he's at? He said
I
in the South,
thought you
he
mentioned
said.
California
in the
at some
South.
point.
He said in the South.
Oh, I thought you mentioned. I don't know.
Is Chip being a rapscallion?
She said he's been crying for over an hour, so Lene's gonna help bring him into the studio.
Okay.
So
North Carolina.
Oh, I love North Carolina.
wrong coast. Sorry.
So North Carolina, I have a story about North Carolina.
He also says, "Quick, get this lady some wine." I'm guessing in regards to Juliet's situation.
Oh, right, yeah, right. Get her some wine. So in North Carolina, I love unsweetened tea. And so the first time I was in North
Indeed.
you guys are ridiculous.
It's like,
So-
What's your vote?
let's take something delicious and take the only flavorful part out of it. So you're just left with
Right.
juicy leaf water.
Right? Okay. Well, Jeremy likes hot bean water too.
That's
so
not cold coffee. It is literally cold
Oh,
coffee.
bean water. I thought you meant like bean beans. I'm like, that's disgusting.
I boil
Pinto.
beans and then give Jeremy the water.
Hot dog water, pickle juice, give it all. Anyways,
Oh.
so I'm in this gas station. I specifically love Nestle Pure Leaf tea, and they have like lemon tea and peach and everything. So I'm going down the line, and here's how it normally goes. You've got the green bottles unsweetened, then you have yellow for lemon, then you have
Red
like
for
oranges
raspberry.
for peach, red
yeah.
for raspberry, and then blue is sweet tea.
Yeah.
So I'm down there, and I'm looking, and I go to the gas station. I go to get a sweet tea, so I go peach, lemon, raspberry, sweet tea, and then where unsweetened tea was normally, It was purple and it said extra sweet tea. They don't even sell unsweetened tea.
You're down south.
where
You're
I
not
was.
going to get
And I'm
unsweetened
like,
tea
are
down
you
south.
serious right now? Like, I can't even get unsweetened tea right now.
What a foolish thought you had, Jeremy.
All I wanted was some sweet tea. Yeah. Or unsweetened tea. I just want unsweetened tea. So that was a
they must be
bamboozle.
here.
Yeah. Juliet said, I'm originally from Mexico, but Georgia's my home for the last 20 plus years.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. You should. So, Juliet, we've all been learning Spanish. Chris, Kara, myself. Dan, you know any Spanish?
A little bit.
A little bit. Duolingo, you can join the group. We're just having a big competition. So, Kara is leading by crown still?
Yes.
Or not
Oh,
yet?
yeah.
I'm at
Okay.
like 92 crowns, I
Well,
think.
be careful. That's all I'm saying. And
Oh,
then,
what? Like you're actually doing Duolingo right now?
Not me. Not me. I'm doing
Wait,
Duolingo.
wait, who?
Well, I'm just saying there could be some competition.
Chris?
I've been secretly plotting to do one big swoop overtake. So I have all of these lessons that are just one lesson away from giving me a crown.
Let's just say
I have them all stacked up.
You dirty dog. You'll beat me in XP.
No, there's no way I could because you guys actually get XP multipliers.
Yeah,
Oh.
he doesn't get any of the multipliers.
Gotcha.
I've
I was
only got-
wondering about
I've
that.
only got 5k XP. So I was talking to Jeremy about this. So the league I'm in right now, the number one person in the league has more XP this week than I've gained in the entire 60-something days I've
Holy
been doing it.
cow.
So there's no chance I'll ever be able to win this league, but...
So my story for Juliet was, we're all still learning Spanish, but I am in last place now, and I'm the one who started doing it in January. And then
Jeremy's almost out of streak freeze currency.
I know. And then Kara is probably leading and Chris is in second. So Kara, can you drop any like off the top of your head without looking at your phone? I mean, you are so far advanced. Can you say a little bit of Spanish?
I don't know what to say.
I mean, just the T-shirt was expensive.
I have to think about this. La camiseta es caro?
Well, what about very expensive?
Muy caro.
Oh,
I was talking to Toby in Spanish today.
were you?
Yeah, I was like, mi gato es fuerte. Mi gato es guapo.
All right, they're here and Chip's crying, so.
All right, so Kara is gonna just have to step out for a second. Dan, you and I will
I'm
finish
sad.
up and get
All
wrapped up.
right. Bye, guys. May the force be with you.
Juliet says go Kara, by the way, in terms of the Spanish stuff. So.
Yeah, girl. All right. Bye.
Adios.
Now it's just empty in here. Kara, no, you didn't ask if you could leave. Just kidding.
Swanky says I used to live back in the re-release digitally enhanced Star Wars era. He used to live in Georgia back in the...
Oh, no way. I love getting to know our
Jacob
fans.
says, I heard Dan had a great Spanish teacher in high school.
Oh.
Do you have a story about this?
Oh,
Can you tell it?
It's a very long story, but
We
I
got
can do
time.
I can do a shortened version. I had a horrendous Spanish. So my mom grew up in Ecuador.
Cool.
She was a missionary kid in Ecuador, and so like getting into high school, and they're like talking about like, oh, you can take German or Spanish. Instantly, I'm like, well, I have to take Spanish because I need to. You know, they would always, my mom and my grandma and my aunts would talk in Spanish when they would talk about Christmas presents and different stuff.
Oh, funny.
So I'd be like, okay,
Covert Recon.
I'm gonna learn, and I'm gonna be able to know like what I'm getting for Christmas. No, it was horrible. So my Spanish one was great. It was great. I learned, and like Mrs. McCrae, she was an amazing teacher. Amazing
Keith
teacher.
said he's on his way to fill Kara's seat. Mrs. McCrae.
Yeah, Miss McCrae. She was a fantastic teacher, and we got to like pick our Spanish names. So I was Juan Alejandro Pay, and
I was
I'm
Mario.
like, it was what?
I was Raul.
I was Mario.
Those are fantastic names. Like, see, and that's the best part of Spanish is
Yeah.
being able to pick your name. So I was super excited about that. So then Spanish 2, I'm like ready to go. And we get into class, and it's a new teacher, and his name was Don Paco, and he instantly he had this like very monotone voice, so he's like, "Hello, class."
Oh,
You know, just very like, and he hated me from the start. I'm instantly like, hey, like, hola, Don Paco, and just
Yeah.
downhill from there.
Oh, man.
He hated me. And I mean, I didn't give him much reason to like me after a while because
That's the way it always is.
it was,
They push, you push back harder.
yeah, exactly. And see, but I turned my grade around. I was able to get out of there and pass, surprisingly. But one of the biggest things I can remember from him, we had this like person who worked at Qdoba in our class, and so end of the year party, we're like, hey, Shanae, like, you should see if you can get some, like, chips and queso and, like, maybe, like, tacos or something. She's all excited about it. She's like, yeah. So she brings it up to Don Paco. And he's like, no. We're like, well, why? And he's like,
Why not?
He says, what did he say? He was like, we could only have tortilla chips and water. And so we had...
What the heck?
I'm not kidding. Like, we had tortilla chips and water and watched Finding Nemo in Spanish, and no one understood what was going on.
Well, I've told you my biggest, like, I might have told this in the podcast before, my biggest beef with Lion King in Spanish is that's what we watched in my Spanish class. We watched The Lion King. Yep. And the one joke is there, so names stay the same no matter what the language is. So Mufasa is still Mufasa, Scar is Scar. So in the scene with the hyenas and they're in the cave and Scar's sitting on the king of the world or whatever, and they have Zazu in the cage, and there's the whole line where it was like the hyena says, we would have never had to deal with this with Mufasa. And then Scar goes, what'd you say? And then the guy goes, que pasa? Which is Spanish. In the Lion King Spanish version, they don't say que pasa. They say something else.
In a different language.
And it's super frustrating because it doesn't rhyme with Mufasa.
Oh, we said lawnmower.
Yeah, I don't know. It was super weird and super frustrating. I'm like, the one line that you could have left alone that I would have understanded. So you like talk about teachers. Do you remember, who was our 9th grade geometry teacher? Was it Mr. Donahue?
Oh, yeah. And he retired
So
quick side story on that. So he was my homeroom teacher. Normally,
your
homeroom teacher, you have all 4 years in high school, right? So I had him freshman year, he retires. So then sophomore year, our homeroom didn't get reassigned. We just we're just sort of floating around. So I just sort of went wherever. So I would hang out in like Mirror Worlds and stuff because you and Nick were in Mirror World.
Yep, I loved that.
And he was awesome.
He's amazing.
Science teacher, super cool dude.
Mirror World?
Mirror World.
It's just Mr. Mirror World. If you say it quicker and,
Like Mirror World.
Mirror World. He lives in a Mirror World.
Yeah.
No, he's dope. So I'd hang out there and stuff, but then eventually we got reassigned to Mr. Anderson's class. Or homeroom or whatever, and just kind of like jumbled it. And actually, did all of us get reassigned? I think we just sort of got stuffed wherever. It was kind of like a weird thing, but I always remember he'll tell the story, but I deal with him every freaking day, twice a day.
So teachers make or break experiences. I had a bad college run for a while because of one specific teacher. And then I had a very good college experience with Mr. Glenn Horse at Fond du Lac. Was really awesome. But Mr. Donahue taught geometry. Now, I love math. I hated geometry, and here was why. He would go up and teach his lesson. And it was doesn't matter if you were late or what the bell was doing. He always started, I think our class was at 9 a.m.
Yeah, it was the first class of the day.
At 9 a.m., he'll get up there and he'll teach 20 minutes. You could not ask questions during his lecture. None whatsoever. He would just get up there and teach. And so what would happen is, at the end of the 20 minutes, now we had 45 or 55-minute classes. At the end, who's coming in?
I guarantee nothing.
Juliet said, by the way, she loves the pictures of Chip. He's so stinking cute.
There's that so stinking cute right there. If he starts screaming, I apologize, and I will leave immediately.
He looks like somebody who's been crying for a while. Is someone tired? Hi, bud.
Yeah.
Hi, Chip.
We're just smack talking old teachers right now.
So, okay. So back to the story. So here's unbelievably frustrating. So for the second 20 to 25 minutes of class, that's when you could go up on a one-on-one basis, lay out your question, and then he would go over it with you because he didn't want to be interrupted during the lesson. But here's the kicker. If he, whether you were or not, thought you were talking or you were distracted when you went up to ask your question, he would say, nope, you were talking to the lesson. You were talking during the lesson. You can ask your question tomorrow. What? And he would make you wait. He would not answer your question during that lecture.
That's a jerk move.
And we didn't have cell phones like we do now. We didn't have smartphones. We barely even had Nokias, and I don't even think I had a cell phone back then.
No, I think we were
class.
juniors, maybe it was juniors or senior year when we got phones.
Yeah, and that was our freshman math class.
Yeah.
Because, he was still around for your homeroom and everything. So, I mean, it was unbelievable. And so Chris and I, talking about, we used to make parodies and stuff. We would just laugh our butts over. We made our own parody of the Like a Rock.
Like a Rock. I was just thinking
like
of
a
that.
rock. Oh, like a rock.
So we would sing different things the school's cooking is like a rock. And then we'd bust out laughing during class. And then if we laughed at our stupid songs, wouldn't get any help that day because he wouldn't help us. And so yeah, it was just like, oh man,
It
teachers
was brutal.
can just-
So he wouldn't even, like, I could try and, like, he would think, my homeroom teacher, like, what do you do in your homeroom? Nothing. You're just sitting there, right? Trying to ask a question in your homeroom. It's like, you gotta wait until class. It's like, what are you doing right now? That's so important that you can't help me.
like on the flip side of that, Mirrorworld would help you before school, after school. Heck, he probably would have helped us with geometry if we would have asked him. He used to brew root beer in his classroom, so sometimes you'd like walk in and it would just smell like just heavenly root beer. It was amazing. Ooh. Super, super cool.
I remember he used to let us, like, you had to cover your books with like newspaper or book cover or something, right? And for tests, any notes we wrote on our book cover we were allowed to use.
Yep.
And I remember I corner shot my way into such a brilliant scheme. I bought a bunch of those sleeves for pages for like a binder, and I taped those to the front of my notebook. So I literally had every single note from every single lesson on my book cover. And he's like, I appreciate what you did there, and I'll let you do it for now, but this is not going to fly for anybody else. Because I took the rule to its logical end, and he's like, no unmodified book covers.
So did you ever get a reason why only tortillas and water? Was it a food policy at the school, or was it a personal policy?
He just hated people.
So,
he just wanted
like,
people to
we
cry.
had my second grade teacher. If you got enough, if you did well in his class, he'd give you like a stamp or whatever. And if you got enough of them, you could, like, the best prize. He had smaller prizes you could cash in earlier, but the best prize is he would go get you a McDonald's hot fudge sundae and then like fries or something and get that for you. So you have, like, look at the stark contrast in, like, people's teachers. You got banned to only tortilla chips, and you got this other teacher running to McDonald's for you, picking up hot fudge sundaes. You know, like, that's awesome.
Well, my second grade teacher lived like a couple blocks away from me, and like, I'd never met him prior to like second grade, but like I'd see him all the time. Like, he was my favorite dude ever, and he was like, his whole thing was like he would like disarm you by just being like a total goofball, and then once he had your attention, then like he would teach you the stuff.
Yeah.
And then he'd go back to being a goofball or whatever, and he was my absolute favorite teacher. It was so awesome. Juliet says, "Oh, he's such a calm baby. Don't be fooled."
He's down here because he was screaming his brains out at my mother-in-law's. Wait, is my camera blocking the sweet little man's face?
No, the microphone was.
There you go. Little chip.
Look how famous you are.
Yeah, he's a
likes it
big
down
boy.
Yeah.
He likes
Pretty
to
soon he'll have a
stand.
bus renovation channel.
Yeah, right.
Seriously.
So
Yep.
ultimately, like, so what? Just to sort of wrap this up
Yeah,
with Dan's project, what is like the timeline for you to get this wrapped up? Do you have like a goal of like this has to be ready summer 2022 so I can cruise? Or
I think ultimately I'd like to do maybe about a year and a half, but I'm kind of open to the fact that it's going to be an ongoing process for forever, really, when I have it. Because there's always stuff that you can do with really any project, and so I'd like to say a year, but at the same time, anytime that I have a deadline on something, it usually doesn't make it.
yeah.
And so then it's like, oh, I guess it's going to be 4 years, you know, and so ultimately I would love to do it in a year. That's also, you know, while working a full-time job and trying to save money to do the build, and plywood is, you know, $80 a sheet now.
It's so
I'm very unhappy.
That's
about
a
that.
hot button for me right now too.
Yeah.
Because we have some remodels that we want to do.
And then I got to know too. I'm assuming unleaded, but is it diesel or unleaded?
It's actually unleaded, yeah. I was surprised,
that's
yeah.
nice.
So it's there's pros and cons to it. So like
Right.
the unleaded, you get a little bit like better gas mileage and it's easier to work on. Or actually,
Right.
diesel's better gas mileage.
Yeah, I was
but-
gonna say diesel's better get, but
Yeah.
it sucks starting in the winter.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, the fuel
And it's
gels
more
up,
expensive.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's more expensive, and it's harder to find people to work on it.
Oh,
So
yeah,
like,
diesel,
this is
yeah.
essentially
You just need to sneak in line at whatever school district's bus works is
Yeah,
and
like-
get them to.
especially when I paint it too. It's gonna be
Yeah.
like hard to.
You just need to get like some like magnetic decals and you just slap on to
Yeah.
make it look.
Cloquet Transit Incorporated. When did we get this guy? Yeah.
You just need that like vinyl wraps, and then like you pull it in, they do the work, and you just peel it off, and you can
like
you can
GTA.
hit a bear and then change the color.
Hit a bear.
You know, and then you'll get off, you know, scot free.
Oh, you're gonna put smuggling compartments in?
Oh,
Ooh.
TK421. Why aren't you at your post?
Yeah.
And then so where do you? And then finally, where do you plan? What's your plan once you get it done? I mean,
I'm kind of open to that. I would love to go out to the West Coast.
Heck yeah.
I-
Star Wars Celebration 2022.
yeah.
Yeah, those are
That's where we're
options.
going.
Bus trip together.
You right?
Or you could rent it out.
Right?
That's also actually like something I have thought about because I've seen Airbnbs where people will do that. But I went out to Oregon last summer for the first time, and I loved it out there. I fell in love with the place, and it's the closest thing to Duluth that I've been able to find.
Cool. Yeah.
And I'm always drawn back to Duluth. I don't know what it is about it, but
Everybody is. I'm telling you.
it's that lake, you know, it
It
brings you
is.
back. So wherever I go, I want it to be similar to Duluth and have that same kind of feel and vibe. So
Yep.
yeah,
I feel you there.
we'll see.
Well, I'm excited to watch the progress, and I'm gonna watch all your videos as they come out because it was really fun so far. It's
Thank you.
lighthearted, fun. It's just you're doing an awesome job. You've got the fun parts.
Bless you, my me.
I know how much time you spent between takes of the video, like cuts in the videos and everything. But it's like, we get to see the seat tossed out, and then it's empty on the inside, and then the lifts out, and it's like all of that work and everything going into it. Or your dad's underneath grinding away at rusted bolts or undercoated bolts and everything. And but it's kind of fun.
Get a GoPro and do time lapses.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
There's a lot of different stuff that hopefully down the road I'll be able to kind of start like doing better video for it. And
then you did an
B-roll.
awesome shot of like the scenery with the sunset, and I was like, that was the
awesome.
perfect time to fly the drone.
so
Pop the drone up, get a nice little aerial, and then
funny story about that shot with the sunset. Storyblocks has really good
Stock footage.
is that a stock footage?
That's stock footage.
No
I didn't shoot enough B-roll because while I'm doing all of the like ripping out of the seats and stuff, I have to do the video too. So like I came to the first episode and I'm like, I have no video. And I'm going from like day 1 to day 2, and how am I going to show that I went to day 2? So I'm like, sunset shot, and
yes.
pulled up the closest one that wasn't on like the coast of like California with a bunch of palm trees, and I was like, this kind of looks like Minnesota.
That's awesome.
Well, you totally
So-
tricked Jeremy.
You tricked me.
Tricked me too.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's. I wish I could say that I did that one. So
Yeah.
Hey, I mean,
Awesome.
Hollywood films use stock footage, so.
It's true.
that makes me feel better.
So Juliet wanted to add in one more thing. I have lots of nieces and nephews, and I tell my sisters that I'm their favorite auntie because they never cry with me. I have a gift when caring for babies.
Oh, that's
Oh,
amazing.
Julia,
well,
you should
we'll have to
come.
get you up here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Actually, when Jeremy's mom brought him down to the studio, they brought him in. He was quiet for 2 seconds and started screaming. And so I went and grabbed him, picked him up, played with him, and I was like, "We're gonna test it out, see if he's calm in here." And lo and behold, knock on wood, he is calm. He still has his little from crying.
It's the saddest thing.
It is. It's like, oh, you cried real hard, my man.
Cried so hard to get the little after sniffles.
So,
like
yeah.
you're done, you calm down, and you're like, yeah, well, it'll be okay. He does.
But yeah,
that.
he does that. He's been doing that since I brought him in. He'd be like,
I'm just watching his face. He's such a goober.
I know, isn't he though?
Goober.
He is so sweet. I love him so much. Yes. There he did it again.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be upset right now, Mom.
He likes having his butt pat, so I think that's what's keeping him calm.
All right, well, we've hit that magical time.
That's right.
Where it's time to say thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far of the video, congratulations. You've made it to the end. Go ahead and give us a like so you can show that you want to see more content like this in the future. Comment down below if you have any ideas for Dan's bus. I'm sure he's open to any type of suggestions that you want, even though he's got his own plans. Let us know what your favorite regional beer is. That's what I'm most curious about. Subscribe if you're not already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time that we upload a video or go live. I like interacting with you guys. Come on and join us live. It's a real good time. Thank you guys so much for watching. And of course,
May the force be with you.
where's the outro thing? There it is. Nope. Oh my goodness. I'm finding it. Bye, everybody.
Mics are good?
No.